So Joe Flacco is now a Baltimore Raven, and people are starting to really understand that John Elway is doing whatever he thinks at the moment can make the team better. Now, let me just explain some of the things that are going on. Most of you guys know Joe Flacco in the playoffs has a very pristine record, but the regular season has been kind of, really, really bad for him. The one thing that I will tell you guys about him, though, is that he won a Super Bowl that a lot of people didn't think he would be able to win just based on his play. Now, we could go ahead and say the defense did it, which, in my opinion, the defense obviously had a lot to do with it, but that was the Super Bowl where it went dark and all kind of crazy stuff happened in it. It was weird stuff going on in that Super Bowl, but ultimately, they gave him a huge contract, and he never ultimately performed up to that contract during the regular season. But he's like, it's sort of like with Nick Foles. Like, they have like specialty things about them that you can probably say, you know what? We can't really bet against them in the playoffs. Even though you obviously, you saw what just happened with Nick Foles. He threw a dot, and the dude had the ball tip up in the air, whatever like that, Alshon Jeffrey and whatever, because that loss for the Eagles was not on Nick Foles. That was definitely on Alshon Jeffrey. He has to take that in the offseason with him as he goes through. But speaking about this, when you talk about John Elway, because remember, Case Keenum, it was between him and Kirk Cousins last season, right? I know they're very happy that they didn't end up with Kirk Cousins, but you have to look at it like this. Joe Flacco is better than Case Keenum, in my opinion. He's just better. He has a bigger arm. It's just more upside. Even though some games he won't really do the things he's supposed to do, it's a bigger upside for Flacco because I think that he can get the ball downfield a little bit more than Case Keenum had. The football has become all about the deep ball. And the one thing that you can't take away from Flacco is that he has a huge arm. So how are they going to utilize that? I don't know. But I will tell you this. The Denver Broncos defense is not the Denver Broncos defense that obviously won the Super Bowl when they beat on Cam Newton. It's not the same defense. So Joe Flacco seems to have been a guy that has thrived with a great defense. So what's going to happen now is what you guys are asking me. Like, what do I feel will happen with the Ravens? Now that Joe Flacco's gone, Lamar Jackson is there. They're moving on with, they're going to be moving on with Lamar Jackson as their, it's documented now. That's their starter. That's where they're going. What's going to happen with the Ravens and what's going to happen with the Denver Broncos? What's going to happen with the Ravens is they're going to continue to be one of the top rushing offenses in the league. Lamar Jackson has a year under his belt. We all know that throwing was not his specialty. Like, I watched him in the playoff game. I felt really bad for him because he's so young. And these defenses, when they scheme for you, it's very, very hard to try to figure out a way to avoid getting dealt with accordingly. And that's what makes it so, it's so miraculous for guys like Tom Brady because there's so much film on him and you really just can't stop him. Along with the defense with Bill Belichick, you pretty much can't beat them. But Lamar Jackson, pretty much when they game plan for him, they had to stop running lanes. That's all they really had to do. And it was like, listen, we're going to man everybody up. You got to make a throw. And he was not able to do that. So as far as the Ravens go, maybe in the offseason he gets a little bit more confidence in his throwing and everything like that because we know that man can run. But again, in the playoffs, it's not going to happen. They're going to put extra cornerbacks out there, extra safeties. They're going to put guys with more speed. You're not running past those guys. So it is what it is. Now, as far as the Denver Broncos go, like I was touching on, they don't have the defense of old. They don't other than Von Miller and a couple other guys, like they're not really, Chris Harris, maybe a couple other, maybe one safety. They're not really doing much defensively. They pretty much let go a lot of the guys that were dominating and was able to beat on Tom Brady in that one run to the Super Bowl. So I don't really know if this is going to all of a sudden become an offensive juggernaut. They don't really have, when you think about it, they have a very good running back that came out of nowhere. Other than that, I don't really, what I'm saying? Like, Demaryius Thomas was traded off. There's not really a lot of excitement there. I know they have that little speedster dude that's over there. But, again, they're going to need to put guys over there that Flacco can utilize. And the number one thing, this is the issue that I have with Joe Flacco. He makes very, very bad decisions in very inopportune times, which means it's sort of like, when a dude is rushing you and you're right in your end zone and you just throw the ball for a pick six and you're right in your own, you're in your own area, in your own territory. He does things like that very often. But he also will do something like throw the ball 60 yards down the field for a touchdown. At the blink of an eye, he's able to do that. So John Elway, in my opinion, what he's doing is trying to make them formidable now. The issue is they just lost another year of a decent defense, but it's not really that good. You get rid of Talib, you get rid of, a lot of the pieces that made that defense really, really good, and then you expect them to just play and just, try to figure out what's going on. It doesn't work like that in the NFL because they scheme for both sides of the ball. So they know what you have there. And other than Von Miller, once you isolate Von Miller, you guys can name some of the other players and stuff like that, but Von Miller is that dude. That, like, he's the guy that gets that defensive the defensive pass rush going. He's the guy that you have to really look out for because even though he's there, he still puts his numbers up. So he's one of those premier players. They don't really have that many more. If you tell me that defensively they're going to be able to hold teams to a lower score so that Flacco can put up some points, in some games it's going to happen like that. Some games it's going to be good. But what can Flacco really do for that offense? That's the issue. What can he really do? Because we've already seen in the regular season what he is. If they make the playoffs, will we get playoff Flacco? It's possible, but who's he throwing the ball to? This is not like really a blockbuster move. It's not something like, oh my goodness, all of a sudden the Broncos are ready to go. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. In my opinion, the Ravens make out a lot more with this trade than the Broncos do. Because now Lamar Jackson is not looking over his shoulder and trying to figure out, is this guy fake? Is he not? You guys got to remember, when he was drafted, Flacco didn't speak to him the whole offseason. And then all of a sudden he tried to, say a couple of, loving words when the camera's in his face. Obviously, we know that's not genuine. But again, it is very hard to see a guy that's just going to come in and take your job and you're supposed to be friends with him. That seems kind of weird to me that people want him to be happy about that. I understand the frustration behind it. It's not something to where he should be, reaching out to the youngster or whatever, because that's what that guy is there for. But you have to stay true to yourself. If that's what you are, that's what you are. He tried to, play both sides of the fence, whatever, but I think that is more of a confidence booster for Lamar Jackson. So I do see the upside for the Ravens this season, just knowing that he's the guy and they're building with him in the offseason. They're going to put weapons around him that's going to help him out. Like I said, I think they're going to start it with the run game. It kind of reminds me, I think his forward speed is he takes off forward a lot better than Michael Vick. I think his elusiveness side to side, Michael Vick was the most spectacular quarterback I've ever seen. But just running straight ahead, I think that it's very, very close because, I want to hear what you guys have to say about it also. But just thinking back to how Michael Vick looked, Lamar Jackson looks extremely fast running straight downhill. But side to side, I've never seen an athlete like Michael Vick on the field at any position. I'm never going to sit up here. Bro, if you go back and look at some of his highlights, it is what it is. But with that kind of core offense, with the read option, not knowing who has the ball, being able to generate that type of thing, and working on his throwing motion in the offseason, I think the Baltimore Ravens made the best of a bad situation with this. And now the Broncos are going to have to figure out what they're going to do. I think they're going to be walking around with some dead cap money if they decide to release Case Keenum. So we'll see if they keep him as a backup because he did sign a 2-year deal. But it should come into the season where Joe Flacco is starting, barring any kind of injury. He should be the guy. Again, the regular season is not his thing, so we have to wait to see how it transpires. But I think ultimately John Elway is thinking that he's going to be a guy that he can make some explosive plays. He can get the ball down the field more often than what they had with Case Keenum. And I think that that's going to bring a little bit more excitement for the team in general. Obviously, they have a decent running game going on right now with Phillip. So they're going to be able to do a little bit more to just know that they can run play action. Joe Flacco can stand up solid in the pocket, what is 6'6", and throw that ball like a monster. So that is the only upside I see. But obviously, teams are going to be, they're going to be planning for that. They're going to be game planning. They're going to be looking at it. They're going to be keying on some of the things that they have film on Flacco from the Ravens. It's not like he's a new quarterback or anything like that. The dude throws the ball deep, and he makes really, really bad reads short and mid. That's pretty much what Flacco has been. And, that Ravens defense with Ray Lewis really took him over the top to help them get that victory that they achieved in the Super Bowl. But again, congratulations to him for reviving his career. 34 years old in the NFL, seems like a baby now with Tom Brady winning Super Bowls at 41. So it's a lot of opportunity there. And in no way am I putting him in the same realm as Tom Brady. I'm just saying with the age group right now, he's pretty much primed to still start a whole nother legacy with his career if he plays it right. So I want to know what you guys and girls think about that. Do you think that the Ravens won with this trade, or you think the Broncos won? Is John Elway a genius? In my opinion, right now, we have to wait and see. Until next time, one love.